On that note, I'd like to welcome on stage our next speaker. He's currently the General Manager of Dataiku, Middle East and Turkey. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together to help me welcome on stage Sid Bhatia.
Etihad Airways is the national carrier of the United Arab Emirates. It was created in 2003 by a Nimri decree by His Royal Highness Sheikh Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan. The vision of Etihad is choose well. We are customer focused, so we would like to serve the best service to our guests. Since the pandemic, we had to review our 5-year plans, and we had as well to review the positioning of Etihad. We are going to be a middle-sized carrier. Based on that, our governance and our way of working or our way of thinking will change. We have to be a more streamlined organization, more agile, more efficient.
Etihad is on a digital transformation path. Our data strategy supports Etihad's vision by harnessing all of the data that's available across the organization, breaking down the silos to enhance every business process that we have. And this is to drive customer engagement, to drive operational efficiencies, and to make us compliant with different regulations and give business good visibility and predictability of all IT deliverables. Dataiku is one of the critical components of our enterprise data platform, like a Swiss Army knife that gives our data science community all the tools that they need, easily accessible in one place, and it facilitates collaboration across different groups of stakeholders.
In the world that we are in today, we have multiple people with multiple different backgrounds, with different understanding of data. There's some who come from a technical background, who love working on R and Python and Scala, and there are others who come from a business background. So the ability to get everybody together, regardless of their roles, is something which is key. So imagine a platform that addresses not just the needs of the data scientist community, but also the business analyst, the data engineer, the line of business manager, and the cloud architect.
Dataiku helps us take our data to the next level by acting as a glue. It's provided great opportunities to upskill a lot of analysts as well. You can literally drag and drop very powerful recipes or essentially processes that even someone who doesn't know how to program can then use to build a pipeline and to figure out, well, I know enough about data and I know enough about the business requirements that I can almost automate my own pipeline. Dataiku has helped us develop use cases across the organization. One of the projects I'm most proud of is an email classification API, which helps reduce resolution times. Through man-hour savings alone, there's over $1 million over the next 5 years saved from that. Dataiku, from my perspective, is not just a really good data science platform. The way Dataiku treats its partnerships with customers like Etihad doesn't stop just at checking in and making sure you know about the latest functionalities, but they go a step beyond in terms of consultation, helping build out frameworks, helping really understand what's the best way to utilize the platform and any other new technologies.
When we look at a partner, we look at someone we can trust, someone who can understand basically our own culture as Etihad. Dataiku managed to really build trust with Etihad, with the senior leadership team, as well as with our project managers. There is a lot of respect. Dataiku will clearly be super supportive, here for us, spend a lot of time helping us. And they successfully managed to understand our culture and understand the challenge of the aviation sectors. And they are as well aligned with the mindset we are looking for, and they can share that entrepreneurship spirit with us.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Sid. You saw me on the video as well. And that's Etihad. That's just one of our many customers in the region. We started the operations in the Middle East about 2 years back, and we onboarded close to about 40 customers as we speak. So the topic for today is interesting in the sense that the reason why we put this video out, because it touched upon the theme quite well. We're talking about AI trends in the UAE, of course, in terms of the latest and greatest. We're going to talk about that. And at the same time, we're talking about a key aspect around business value. You saw the business value that Etihad Airways was able to actually generate with just one use case. They said that email classification API as a single use case fetched them $1 million. I'm privy to many other use cases that Etihad is doing. On one of the use cases that they embarked, and I think this is a good segment to the next slide, which actually talks about various successes that we've seen in the region. Continuing with Etihad, I think the first thing that sort of stands out is not just the email classification API use case, but also the use cases in terms of credit card fraud. They're able to actually get insights from various different parts of business and feed that into the vendor management system, thereby sort of ensuring that they're able to actually get better contracts in place, saving up to $4 million with another use case. So the point is, the story that stands out with Etihad, as you see, is that when we started working with them 3 years back, they were very clear with the strategy they wanted to embark upon. So the use cases were clear 36 months ago, 24 months ago, 12 months ago, and they have a clear strategy for the next 3 years as well in terms of the roadmap that they have as far as the use cases are concerned. So that's the story there in terms of the business value that they've been able to achieve. The other story, I'll not really get into the details of that because I think first FAB is here. They're pretty much here and they're going to talk about their success with Dataiku as well. The third story is interesting. So as Dataiku, for some of you who might not know about Dataiku, Dataiku has about more than 550 customers worldwide. And some of these customers have really embarked on some very special journeys. For example, I'll give you the example of AstraZeneca in the UK and the US. Now these guys started their data journey with Dataiku a few years back. And they had an army of data scientists, about 100 data scientists. But very quickly they realized that in order to scale AI to a completely different level in the organization, they need to make sure that they basically embark on a journey where they can actually get people who are non-data scientists to be very well versed with machine learning and AI as well. Imagine the number of use cases were going up and the number of people are just 100. They had to actually ensure that they get 2,000 more people as a part of the data strategy to execute, which basically meant that looking at platforms that actually enable the low code and no code as well. And they embarked on that journey. They've delivered thousands of use cases and one of our key customers. The larger point I'm trying to make here is that we've got global customers who are really at a completely different level, but regionally things are working quite well with some regional customer success stories. And the reason for that, of course, is the general environment. I mean, we're talking about trends here in the UAE in particular. And the reason why AI destination in the Middle East as UAE is because of few factors. And I put this slide together yesterday. The first one, of course, is strong leadership. So you've got all the material that's there in terms of a very clearly defined strategy. We're all aware of the 2031 blueprint that's there in terms of, carving out the guidelines and policies. But it does not end there. Having strong leadership is great, but at the same time, the story in the middle is the strong funding as well. We've seen in the region over the last 24 to 36 months where more and more public sector and private sector entities are actually embarking on that journey. So they pretty much have the funds as well to actually fund this through. And the reason why UAE is such a strong destination is also emerging from the fact that the strong existing digital infrastructure as well. If you look at various reports in terms of mobile penetration, blockchain adoption, if you look at, in our space in some sense, the adoption in terms of the data lakes. So the data is there, the adoption is there, the digital infrastructures are there. And what's really required is to actually get insights from that data. So UAE clearly is leading the pack when it comes to these kind of initiatives. Three things in terms of key trends that kind of stand out, and this is based on our interaction with the customers here in the region. The first trend, of course, is more of a disruptive statement I'm going to make here, is that business users will actually ensure that they bring more value than the data scientist community. And this is an ongoing trend that we've seen over the last 6 months to 12 months. We see the low-code and no-code community sort of really coming to the fore in the sense that they want to contribute to machine learning and AI efforts for the organization. So there's a trend, clear trend where we see that the users of data science are not just restricted to the data scientist community, it is also the non-coders as well that have adapted in a very big manner. We see more and more conversations in the region where C-suite is getting involved in terms of the value drivers that they have for the organization and what use cases can be delivered as a part of that initiative. The second trend that we see, and this is something that we saw briefly 18 months back as well, is where the BI teams and the AI teams are actually coming together, which is great news. If you really look at it from a perspective of strategy for organizations here in the Middle East, we see RP and automation, we see BI and AI teams sort of converging, which is great news because now what you have is basically one simple business unit with a centralized governance, control, and audit to take these initiatives. Last but not the least is reality says, I mean, I would like to sort of quote the Gartner report that came out last year actually, that said that 90% of whatever models are being worked upon will never see production. And that trend has sort of reversed in some sense with at least the customers we are speaking to. And we see that half of the models that people want to actually productionize actually get productionized. But the question is the other half is still not getting productionized. And the reason for that, we'll get into that reason on the next slide as well. So while I was putting this slide together yesterday, I was going through a lot of different articles online, and I could see that behind these flashy headlines, where companies are doing great on AI, of course, are in news. But the reality is that today technology is a commonplace. Where technology is already there. The problem is that the challenge that we really face right now is how to get the technology, people, and processes to work together in a seamless manner so that you can start delivering AI at scale. The technology is always there. The problem is how to get people to work together, collaborate together in a seamless manner. Which brings me to this slide. So in our conversations with CDOs in the across Middle East, and we speak to a lot of AI strategists as well, there are these underlying tensions that actually kind of exist when it comes to carving out that AI strategy for the organization. On one side, you have amplified data experts. You want to basically make sure that the data scientist teams are empowered with the right kind of tools so that they can innovate faster. At the same time, you don't want to alienate the business users as well. The reality is that you've got Excel sheet users, you've got users that are well versed with Tableau and ClickView. So you don't want to alienate that. So you have to sort of balance that equation. The other underlying tension that we see is unleashing innovation as well, which means that you want to make sure that your data teams have everything that they need from a flexibility perspective. They can work on open source. They can actually make sure that they're making the most of the latest algorithms. The flexibility has to be there. But at the same time, you need to make sure that the IT is compliant as well. The other tension that we see in the market when we speak about machine learning and data science at a strategy level is, of course, a lot of companies want to start demonstrating value very, very fast. They have identified those top 2 or 3 use cases they want to run with. But again, is this sustainable? That's the question. Is this sustainable in the long run? So under these underlying tensions, there's a very difficult question that how do you make sure that you do not compromise as far as your AI strategy is concerned? Successful organizations are the ones that don't make those choices. Successful organizations that we've seen here in the market are organizations that take everybody together, make a choice that they do not settle for the and, they do not settle for the or, they actually look at getting everything together. So imagine a platform where you can satisfy the data experts and empower the business users at the same time. Unleash innovation and avoid shadow IT. Demonstrate value fast, but make it sustainable over a period of time. And this is the emergence of this whole segment in the market called DSML, Data Science and Machine Learning Platforms. The biggest challenge that we face today, and we hear from our customers, is that people speak different languages in the organization. And this is a nice little chart there in terms of, if you look at the business analyst community, they speak a different language. They understand the language of Power BI, Tableau, ClickView. Data scientist speaks the language of R and Python. A data engineer would be busy focused on optimizing the data pipeline. And if everybody is focused on a different aspect of the machine learning journey, it becomes very difficult to speak the common language, have a common understanding of data. And imagine if you have 4 or 5 different technology components to get people together. If I refer to the problem statement earlier, how do you get the data, technology, and people to work together? It becomes very, very difficult. And this is where we advise our prospects to consider a platform approach where everybody has a common understanding of data. The business analyst can work on it, the data scientists can work on it, the data engineers can work on it, and you have a common digital thread across the entire pipeline when it comes to data prep, modeling, or deployment. And all of this is happening in one single interface, which means it's highly governable, it has the right audit, it has the right collaboration features for you to start scaling on machine learning and AI. Which basically means that you have a canvas now for the organization in which in one canvas you're able to basically do end-to-end analytics when it comes to connecting to any kind of data, structured data, unstructured data, semi-structured data, data at rest or data in motion. So you've done the cataloging and you actually move along the journey in terms of data prep. With a few clicks, you can actually wrangle the data and get in the right format. And then moving on, looking at AutoML solutions and basically empowering the entire organization to make sure that people who like to code can code, and people who do not want to code can actually go ahead, use the visual recipes as well. What that does in terms of business value, because we're focused on the business value aspect of what a platform can bring in, plus the use cases, everything gets automated. The gluing cost is where the problem is. You know, you've got these moving components, how do you get them together? If you actually go speak to a data scientist, majority of the time that he's spending is on data prep and getting things together. With a platform approach like Dataiku, what we do is we automate everything. As you can see, cleansing of data, wrangling of data, building and applying machine learning models, to basically integrating it back to the business application. I've cited 3 examples at the bottom of the screen, and this will give you some interesting insights in terms of the business value that has been achieved by a lot of our customers. GE Aviation was able to actually productionize certain workloads, certain projects by exposing that to Kubernetes in about 120 seconds. So you have a prototype, you want to productionize that, you're able to do that in 2 minutes. Another example is one of the global investment banks has more than 500 users, and they've delivered in a span of 2 years, 2,000 data products. Another example on the right-hand side is Aviva, where you're looking at productivity increase of 5x. So imagine if there are 10 data scientists or 10 users with a platform approach. When you automate everything, you don't have to glue anything together, everything is automated. Those 10 data scientists could be equivalent to 50 data scientists for the organization. And that's the productivity gain that we see with the platform approach. Which basically brings me to this little graph that I put together. And it's such a known fact that, of course, if you look at the time on one axis and the business value on the other axis, clearly, if you have limited set of people in an organization working on limited set of applications, you look at the blue line, which is the expert AI for the organization where value is created, but value is not created at scale. And if you want to scale these efforts for the organization, you need to basically empower everybody in the organization. You'll always have 5, 10, 15, or 100 data scientists at max, but what if you can actually empower everybody in the organization, people from different backgrounds? When that happens, you get to the red line, where you actually see the J curve, where more and more value can be created for the organization. And this is what we call everyday AI and extraordinary people, basically maximizing the business value for your organization. So to summarize in some sense on the platform side of the story, and we'll get into the use case side of the story here on. If you look at a platform value gains that you see, we've put together what we call the Dataiku Everyday AI Value Framework, which basically summarizes for you the kind of agility that you can get from the platform. So you have obviously three of these main gains. First of them is of the lot, of course, is speed and agility, which means that you can do more analytics and you can do it much more faster. We've actually seen customers saying that Dataiku customers have seen 70 to 90% more efficiency when it comes to use case delivery. The second one is stack efficiency. I spoke about it earlier as well. A lot of time goes in just getting things together, gluing things together. And here with Dataiku, because it's an end-to-end data science platform, you make it very easy and very seamless for data teams to work on. And last but not the least is control. Imagine embarking on this AI journey and actually churning out models left, right, and center, but not keeping an eye on the bias or not keeping an eye on the responsibility behind AI. And this is where Dataiku can help you, because what happens here is that you got 100% of your projects basically in a completely auditable environment. So whatever you're actually embarking is 100% auditable. So tomorrow, when regulation comes in, you're able to, and your tough questions are asked, you're actually able to go ahead and give the answers seamlessly. But that's just one side of the story. The other side, of course, is the use case value gains. And this is where, as organizations, we obviously embark on these use case discovery workshops. And we see that as long as the use cases are aligned with the business value drivers for the organization, be it in terms of increased revenue, decreased cost, or optimizing processes or opening up new markets or getting into launching new products for the organizations. These are use cases that are important, and you need to align your thoughts and energies to these use cases, because these are the use cases that will maximize the business value for the organization. All right, so that leaves us with this chart then in terms of the use cases, and it's a nice little chart, a nice little summary in terms of what our customers are doing worldwide. Like I said earlier as well, more than 500 customers and thousands of use cases being delivered. And a very good way to start, at least in the region that we've seen as a pattern, is to start with sales and marketing use cases in terms of churn prediction, customer lifetime value, sentiment analysis, sales forecasting, recommendation engines, so on and so forth. But in the good segment of organizations that we are embarking the journey with, also are focused on finance and accounting use cases. And these use cases exist, and it's a no-brainer. These use cases are there, but the problem does not end here. The problem actually starts here. You've got the use cases, you've got the platform, you've got the nuts and bolts in place, but how do you really accelerate that value for the organization? And this is where, the good news is that, before the good news, let me just maybe summarize the challenges that actually exist. So you've seen the use cases on the previous slide, but the challenge when you have the use case visibility in terms of this is what I want, the problem is that as per Gartner, there's this study that was done that on an average, an organization takes from the time they've identified something, 9 months to actually implement the use case. And 22% of whatever the data teams are actually working on are things that they would want to work more on, which is innovation, which is basically working on that moonshot use case that can really create that competitive differentiation for them. But there's no time, because you're basically busy doing something very basic in terms of identifying the first 2 or 3 use cases and delivering that. And this is where the innovation is lacking, and this is the challenge. If I were to sort of summarize and break that 2-slider into 4 large challenges that I see, the number one challenge that we see in customer conversations is slow to value, which means that, yes, you have the use cases, but you're not able to sort of scale AI within the organization. The second one is, maybe there's certain departments, let's pick up a bank, for example. There's certain departments in the bank, maybe the risk side of the story, they're quite advanced in terms of delivering use cases. But again, on the HR side, things are lagging behind. What happens in that scenario is that what we call the black box effect, where there's a particular division that's doing very well, but the other division is sort of lagging behind. But from an organizational perspective, it is very important that you have something which is seamless. You have process enhancements right throughout the organization. So silos or islands get created. The third one, of course, is there's no scalability with that model. You have 2 or 3 use cases, but you don't have a roadmap on that. Then how do you tend to sort of start scaling? Because you're talking about 50 or 100 use cases to be delivered in a short span of time. And the last one, of course, is what I summarized on the last slide as well, that there's no time to innovate. How do you get more time to the data scientist team? Keeping those aspects in mind and highlighting the fact that platform is fine, but what really matters is the industry success, the domain knowledge that you can bring in. And we as Dataiku, apart from the platform, we offer what we call the industry-based solutions. These are pre-built projects that are part of the package as well. From raw data to actionable business outcomes, industry solutions are ready to use assets that you can actually deploy very, very quickly. In this example, I've actually highlighted the distribution spatial footprint, which basically means that you have the data from the floor. Let's consider retailer, and you can actually feed that data, and you've got ready visual web apps that are actually available. You can just plug in the data, you can start playing with it. You have step-by-step flow, which is available. You've got fancy dashboards and charts and graphs. So on day one, because you have a ready asset, and we have a pre-built project which is built into the product, you're able to deliver value very, very quickly. So that's the acceleration we're talking about. The other one is, of course, all of these templates are 100% customizable, which means that every industry is different, and each and every customer within that industry is different. The requirements must be are absolutely differentiated from customer to customer. You can actually customize these templates as well, which means that you have a blueprint, but the customizations are possible. At the same time, what we've done is we've actually focused on a few industries quite well. Like I said, 500 plus customers, so a majority of our customers would belong to these 4 industries. So what we've done is we've taken all the knowledge when it comes from retail and CPG, manufacturing and energy, financial services and insurance in a very big manner, health and pharmaceutical companies, and we've taken those assets, and what we've done is we've created these blueprints that are available out of the box. For each and every industry, we know the kind of use cases that are most relevant, And we package that as a part of the platform. Now this then enables customers to deliver value much more faster. The Gartner report that said that you take 9 months from ideation to actually productionization can actually be bridged to a few weeks with an asset like this. I was speaking to some people in the morning as well, and of course, we've got representation from various different industries. Just to give you a quick glimpse in terms of the industry solution catalog, let's begin with retail and CPG. So as a part of the platform, we of course are rolling out more than 20 use cases, and this could be around market basket analysis, RFM enhanced customer lifetime value, RFM based segmentation, product recommendations, demand forecasting, sentiment analysis, so on and so forth. One of our strongest areas that we specialize in is banking and financial markets. We have more than 100 banks worldwide as Dataiku customers, so there's enough knowledge there. And out of the box comes, one of the use cases that is pretty hot, and we've seen a lot of banks in the region, is the AML alert triage use case, along with credit card fraud analysis. So these are use cases, pre-packaged products that can actually help you accelerate that value. Similarly, for healthcare and pharmaceutical, when it comes to patient care, when it comes to identifying the right way to sort of market, omni-channel marketing, or when it comes to drug repurposing, the out-of-box use cases as well for that domain. Similarly, for manufacturing and energy as well, when it comes to oil rigs, for example, we're working with customers in Saudi, where they wanted to obviously do predictive maintenance, and that is something that comes out of the box as well. And the story continues with other sectors as well. I'm not going to cover everything, but when it comes to transportation, logistics, very recently regionally actually, we embarked on a real estate project in terms of price prediction for real estate market in Dubai, and that project was so successful that we've actually now integrated that as a part of the overall offering as well. I would urge you to look at the website. There are a lot of ready resources that are there. There are a lot of projects that are available. You can actually go ahead and start using and start downloading these projects for your, if you're interested in that. So which basically brings me to the last 2-3 minutes of the segment, and basically what the larger point I'm trying to make is that when you have these ready assets that you can utilize along with the platform, the story changes completely. You were talking about slow to value. What we have with Dataiku is pre-built projects that sort of replace that. We're talking about a challenge around use case, how they're creating, silos of use cases with a particular department. What we have is customizable templates to sort of make sure that you get started quicker. No scalability. Again, we've got industry-based use cases, and these are, like I mentioned earlier as well, about 20-25 use cases packaged for each and every industry. And then you create that roadmap. And then people who want to work on some innovative projects, because of the modular approach that we have, output of a particular use case can actually help you as an input to another use case, and that's how you start scaling AI within the organization. Don't believe what I'm saying. I think you could look at the Gartner report or the Forrester report as well. I think this is one report that came out some time back, which is on the total economic impact of Dataiku as part of the Forrester study that was done. And we saw 423% ROI on these use cases on the platform itself. One of the key factors there was about 75% of the data scientist time was actually saved, which means that data scientists can now work on more innovative projects out there. 90% manual repeated tasks in terms of reporting was optimized, and then payback in about 6 months. So this is a report that you might want to download from our website as well. And last but not the least, and this is very similar to the talk track that we just had some time back, and people generally ask us that, in order to get started with the journey on machine learning and AI, what are the top 10 recommendations? And I'll leave it at that. I think it's very important to understand the value drivers. It's very important to have a very strong business champion, somebody who understands AI at the highest level of the organization. Identify areas of opportunity across the lines of businesses. Make sure that you involve all talents. AI, as we speak today, is not just the data scientist community, it's also the business analyst, the data engineer, the Python champion, the cloud architect. So everybody needs to get involved. You know, to make sure that you do a reality check as well in terms of, before you speak to a vendor like Dataiku, a reality check in terms of how ready you are as an organization, in terms of your understanding of machine learning and AI. And you might want to spend time on some certifications, education, training, enhancing the skills. And then you identify those champions across the lines of businesses, people who are really interested, and then enable them. And then you engage with vendors like Dataiku to actually, obviously, look at platform conversations, and of course the use case conversations. Identify the top use case, implement that use case, and once you've implemented that first use case, it's important to measure the value that created for the organization. And once you've measured that value, it's important to communicate that value internally as well. And that is how you build the momentum when it comes to scaling AI within the organization. Just to summarize then, key takeaways from my little talk here, of course, UAE is a very strong destination. It's a no-brainer here in terms of what's happening with the right kind of environment, right kind of leadership, right kind of investments happening. But the opportunity is now. It's only the next 5 years, and we're already a few years into that journey. Companies that are investing in AI are definitely creating that competitive edge, and this momentum is fast moving. The second one, of course, is that accelerate business value by involving all talents in the organization. Machine learning and AI, as we speak in 2022, is not just about a particular set of people. You need to democratize AI across the organization. And last but not the least, embrace the whole concept of everyday AI. Because at the end of the day, AI is the future, and this is how you differentiate yourself in the market when it comes to your competitive advantage. With that, I'll just say that some of you might not know about Dataiku, and again, I do not want to take you through the journey, but we're a company that is a pre-IPO company, and we're based regionally here in the region. We've got a headquarters in New York. We've been in the market for the last 9 years. We're a Gartner leader for 2020, 2021. And we're pretty much here as a part of the session today. We're running some live demos. So the use cases that we are showcasing on the slide is something that we would urge you to come and have a quick chat with us. And it's on the right-hand side there. Whenever you have time, just pass by and we'll be happy to have a chat. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your time.